What's up, everybody? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel, and then follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter so you guys don't miss any of our content over the course of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. Let's start with New York, Indiana. Game 4 and 5, kind of similar to what we talked about tonight. Not really a whole lot for you to learn about in the sense that, we have this bizarre Game 4 where the Knicks just let go of the rope basically for the first time all postseason. It seems like every other time they've been up against it and they find themselves in a 10, 12-point deficit, they would just somehow nix their way back into the game, and they let go of the rope, right? Then we go back to Game 5 in Indy, or Game 5 back in MSG, and it was like a little bit of like Game 1 where Tyrese Haliburton's weirdly super passive, but at the same time, the Knicks just bring this hellacious, desperate effort and they pull out the win. Rick Carlisle's super pissed off after the game about their effort level. We'll start with you, Logan. How are you guys feeling about Game 6 back in Indiana tomorrow night?
You have to be PO'd at Indiana's effort level, man. That's the biggest thing. Jason, I don't know if you saw it, man. I was all in on the Pacers. I said they're going to mop the Knicks last two games. The Knicks are tired. They're depleted. They're going to run these boys. And I bet on the girl that doesn't play defense, and I bet against a team that plays really hard most nights, and I feel quite foolish for it. Like, New York just has bankable things that are consistently going to show up night to night in the way that the Pacers don't. The first bedrock of this team is Jalen Brunson. And the Indiana Pacers have no idea how to contain or how to defend him. Last game, Game 5, 44 points, 7 assists on 58% true shooting. These numbers were midway through Game 5, so they're probably there's a few more shot attempts on them for sure, so they're not fully right. This is about in the third quarter. Brunson was 14 of 21 on Nembhard in the series, 11 of 28 on Nesmith, and 3 of 11 versus McConnell. So I think a big thing for the Pacers is you just got to match Nesmith's minutes. You have to have him on Brunson as much as possible. He just gives you the best route to maybe winning against him. I don't think it's going to work. Like, I think Brunson has been dissecting doubles. He's been getting everything that he wants. And so, again, that's just something that you can bank on with New York. Jalen Brunson's going to show up. The other thing that you can bank on is just how New York has crushed the glass and the effort, man. You mentioned it, Jason. They're plus 32 in total boards in this series. They're plus 18 in offensive boards. And in Game 5, they win 53-29 overall. They win 20-5 on the offensive glass. And they dominate second chance points 26-9. Like, that's the scary thing about Indiana, man, is it feels like, sure, New York does not have many quality basketball players. They are playing their like 8th and 9th men as starters. It's ridiculous how many bodies and how many guys they're out. But I expect this team to play hard, really hard. I expect the role players to do their jobs to a great level. I expect Jalen Brunson to put the team on his back. And the Pacers scare me. Like, are the Pacers going to play defense? Is Tyrese Haliburton going to shoot more than 10 shots? That's the biggest question mark to me too, dude. As a superstar player, the Pacers were scoreless for 6 minutes in the third quarter of Game 5. And it's like, where is Haliburton? What are we doing? You got to take a shot. So Indiana just scares me to bet on after I put all my chips in on them, man. Are they going to play defense? Are they going to give me effort? Is Haliburton going to shoot enough shots? And the other guy that I point the finger at is Pascal Siakam. I've just been consistently disappointed at him not succeeding in attacking mismatches. And like, this is a small Knicks team that is routinely trotting out 4 guards and Hartenstein. That's a scenario that Siakam's just got to dominate. So when I look at these two teams, I just think New York has more bankable and consistent things that they're going to do on a nightly basis. I think the Pacers can get hot. I expect them to match that effort and energy, but they burn me, man. And I'm scared about betting on Indiana again. They just have way more red flags to me than New York. New York may be lacking quality basketball players, but I know Brunson and the boys are going to bring it.
Hard pivot from Logan from where he was at after Game 4. I expect Indiana to win Game 6. I would take the Knicks to win this series in 7. I don't necessarily disagree with a ton that you said, Logan. Like, the reason that I ultimately have a little bit more faith in a Knicks team that is so shorthanded is because Brunson has much more consistently played up to the superstar or fringe superstar, top 15 guy, whatever you want to call him, level that he has earned recognition for. Whereas Hallie, although he had an amazing stretch in games 3 and 4 this series, has been much less consistent with the aggression. And so I absolutely would bet on them having the best player on the floor in the biggest game. I would bet on them winning the effort category. And then I think they've gotten enough in terms of spot up shooting. I still think there are some really good connective playmakers there, guys who make really instinctual plays defensively. They still have more of a defensive foundation, even without OG. In a do or die spot, I would lean the Knicks. But for game 6, it's just tough for me to see the Knicks going into Indiana. And I know that they have this ability to like summon this superhuman effort within themselves, but they didn't in game 4. Game 4 was finally the spot where they were like, oh man, that was the one to steal. Game 3, where we shoot 50-something% from 3. Dante gives us 35. They couldn't get up for that specific game. And obviously we saw tonight, like, when you are the team up 3-2 going on the road, it's tough to summon the same level of effort that the home team has. And Indiana has been really good at home. They haven't lost a home game in these playoffs. And that's where it's like, okay, now they have clear basketball advantages. They have 9 real quality basketball players. They have 2 stars on the floor to the Knicks 1. They play super fast and can just build those leads, especially at home. I'm with you on like Siakam has to play those small ball looks off the floor. He has to be better as a mismatch attacker. And that goes for Miles Turner as well. And those guys have to rebound better, because there's no reason for the Knicks to beat you on the glass when they are playing this super small ball look. And that's a win for them, because Deuce McBride is just better than Precious, and it allows them to match your pace more effectively and bring ball pressure. And they have more shooting, all these things that were big in game 5. But with the home crowd behind them, knowing that they have to bring that sort of energy and ultimately having more weapons, I do think Indiana probably takes game 6.
So I'm actually a little bit more optimistic about the Knicks winning game 6. I think I lean slightly towards Indiana in that game. It's probably like a 55-45 for me. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think the underrated part of game 4 that people are forgetting is it was like a really quick turnaround. It was basically a day and a half after game 3. And game 3 was very much a heartbreaking end to that game, right? So I think that plays a role. Especially with Jalen Brunson dealing with his foot injury, we're not just talking about not having a quick turnaround. We have an extra day in here. The Knicks and Pacers played 2 days ago, and they don't play again until tomorrow. And so you got 2 full days off. That's big for Jalen Brunson's foot. I think one of the things that Tom Thibodeau figured out, and he figured it out earlier in the series, but he did it with the starting lineup in game 5, is just kind of understanding that Deuce McBride's one of his 5 best players. And there's just way too much press. There was a play in game, I think it was in game 5, that to me like perfectly encapsulated the problem with Precious Achiuwa. He catches in the left corner wide open for 3, doesn't take the shot, drives the baseline and shoots a floater short off the front of the rim. And you're like, man. Yeah. So like, and one of the specific things from a matchup standpoint with Deuce McBride on the floor that becomes a problem for the Pacers is they can't stash Haliburton on Josh Hart, because Josh Hart's just a wrecking ball in the offensive glass, and it becomes a problem. I still think I'd put Tyrese on Josh Hart. I just don't think they'll do it. The main reason why I'd put Tyrese on Josh Hart is I think you could hedge and recover and get away with a late closeout on Josh Hart when he slips to the 3-point line. And then again, I would confront the rebounding issue more as a team, but they're not going to put him on Josh Hart. I don't think Rick Carlisle wants that physical mismatch. Dante DiVincenzo and Miles McBride can both hit pick and pop threes at a pretty high level. And Deuce McBride did an amazing job in game 5 of just kind of making the next read in line to kind of get the defense in rotation and kind of take advantage of it. Really, when it comes down to it for me, even though Indiana actually has won the half court battle so far through 5 games, they're at 100.8 points per 100 half court plays. The Knicks are at 100 flat in the series, but I do think a big part of that was the blowout in game 4 kind of poisoning the data a little bit. I think I trust New York's half-court offense a little bit better. And so think of it like this from the standpoint of the odds. I think the Pacers, I give them like a 55-45 chance to win game 6, right? But I think I give it like 80-20 in favor of the Knicks in game 7. So for me, just from the standpoint of like a basic statistical analysis, the Knicks have a pretty good chance to win game 6 and a really good chance to win game 7. And to me, that makes them the clear favorite. I don't want to write them off entirely, but yeah, I think Jalen Brunson is the best player. I think that they're just a little bit more consistent with their effort and energy on both ends of the floor. I just think they're a better basketball team. You know, the Haliburton piece, and you guys, Logan, you broke it down beautifully, but like one of the things with Haliburton is like he was taking 11 threes a game and hitting over 40% of them for a few weeks before that game 5. And then he goes out and takes 4 of them. And like I did this bit on my show after that game. I think every single player archetype has a downside. I think Jokic has a little bit of this too with his playmaking, where it's like all of a sudden in game 2 he's passing out of
No, I'm kidding.
But he's passing out of single coverage, and it's like, dude, your team's falling apart. You got to be aggressive. You know what I mean? And like that. By the way, LeBron had that a lot over the years, where it's like he's just continuing to make the right play, and it's like, yeah, but we need you to kind of take over the game here. And so some of that is kind of a natural side effect of his personality as a basketball player, but I think it gets exacerbated with his age and some of the stakes at play here, because this is his first time being the best player on a championship team, best player on a playoff team. Yeah, exactly. I misspoke. The best player on a team that's actually making a playoff run. It's a different vibe entirely than being in a supporting role, right? So I lean New York. I probably lean in that 65-35 for them to win the series at this point. I'm feeling pretty comfortable about that.